After the year Tom Brady just had, how much time do you think he has left?
I think he's got a good 4 or 5 years left. I thought he had a terrific year, and he took 23 shots, and last week or 2 weeks ago against Denver, got up from every single one of them and got his team in the position to almost win a very tough road game. So, in my estimation, he's the greatest of all time. He has many more years to continue to add to his numbers and his legacy, and I would not be surprised to see the Patriots back in Super Bowl 51 next year. That's how good they are.
If there is a somewhat of a decline in the next few years and the Patriots come to the crossroads where Jimmy Garoppolo is in a contract year, they've drafted him to be their next guy. What do you think they should do? What road do they take?
Well, only they would know whether or not he has the personality to handle and step in the shoes. Think about stepping in those shoes. All right, I can only think of one player in the history of the league that has stepped into the shoes of a bona fide Hall of Famer and may have outplayed him, and that would be Aaron Rodgers stepping into the shoes of Brett Favre. They couldn't do it. They still haven't done it in Miami. They hadn't done it via the draft in Denver, Buffalo. Think of all these great quarterbacks that have been playing in all these cities that you've been unable to replace. So it's not easy. And I guess you could say that Tom Brady, in a way, replaced Drew Bledsoe, but Drew had never won a Super Bowl. So I think Aaron Rodgers is the one that stood the test of time. The question is, only the New England Patriot coaches know whether or not Garoppolo has that personality. But we're still many, many, many years away from that.
So you think that even a Brady who's a little less than his best would still maybe be better than the next guy?
I think Brady, 75% of Brady is better than 100% of the other quarterbacks. Let's put it that way. That's how good he is, and that's what he means to New England. And the best part about New England this year, if I were a New England fan, you didn't lose any coaches except you fired or let go of the offensive line coach. Didn't lose your defense coordinator. Didn't lose your offensive coordinator. Everybody's pretty much coming back. That team's going to be loaded. The quarterback's going to be great. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had a wide receiver in the offseason.
A lot of people did play the blame game for the loss in the Broncos game between the offensive line, or was it Brady? What would you point to as the biggest downfall in that game?
I would say that the defense of the Denver Broncos gets paid as well. And they're playing in front of 75,000 raving maniacs. And it's very difficult to play offensive tackle in that situation against guys by the name of DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. That's the struggle within every game that you play. And maybe the Patriots are not here because they lost their last game on the road in Miami when the decision was to not play a lot of guys in that game. And that ultimately came back to haunt them. So it was a really, really hard-fought, physical, nasty football game. If they got blown out, I'd say you got problems. But they didn't, and they'll be back next year. That I can guarantee.
A lot of people have sort of criticized Bill Belichick for outsmarting himself toward the end of the season. Did you see any of that with him?
Why would he kick the field goal at 4th and 1 and 6 minutes and 3 seconds to go in the game? I would have done that because normally, Coach Belichick, and I've done a lot of his games, really has the temperature of the other team. So, and to give you a prime example of that, you understand that in a game against the Jets in the regular season, he defers to kick off because he knows that his offense is not going to move the ball against that Jet defense. It just wasn't happening that day. So he had the temperature of that game, so I can understand why he made that decision, and totally am in lockstep with it, even though it didn't work out. 6 minutes and 3 seconds ago, 4th and 1, you're on the Denver 15, whatever it was. I said that on the radio, and I'll say it today. They should have kicked the field goal. And the reason they should have kicked the field goal because Denver's offense was awful in the second half. They had 83 yards, 7 completions, and 3 points. Your defense was smothering their offense. So the argument that they would never get the ball back the second time does not hold water with me. They would have gotten the ball back, and not only did they get the ball back a second time, they got it back a third time. So it was the first time in a long time that I thought Coach Belichick and Ernie Adams didn't really have the temperature of the game. That's why at the time I was critical of it, but it's easier for me to say that when I'm in the booth doing it as opposed to standing on the field trying to make those decisions in real time.
How much weight do you put on just the coin toss in the beginning of that game, them electing to receive when they always defer?
Well, that's the other thing. He has reasons for these things, and he and Ernie go over those things. That's one of the reasons why almost all the time he makes the right decisions, and they always seem to work out for him, whether it be taking a safety against the Broncos in a regular season many years ago or letting the Giants score at the end of the Super Bowl, the last time that they played. Wes Welker drops the ball. That would have led to a tie. There are a lot of decisions that he makes that are unbelievable, that a lot of coaches in this league will never make. So I always give him credit for that. But I thought that they mismanaged this one, and I said so, and I still feel very strongly about that, because if they would have kicked the field goal, that would have meant that the touchdown pass to Gronk would have been a game winner, and they wouldn't have had to go for two. Well, they probably would have won for two, because they only would have been up 1 point, but it seemed pretty obvious to me what to do at that point.